Hello students. Today we discuss the next point in your syllabus, that is the types of plant succession. So question 3 is the give the types of plant succession. So in this question we have to write about first the succession, definition of succession, then processes of succession, and third point is the types of plant succession. So what is succession? So succession is nothing but the development or process of development of new communities in an environment area is called as a succession. And features of successions are it is directional and predictable. It is happening due to the modifications of the physical environment, and it increases the structural complexity. So ultimately it will be increases the biodiversity of plants, animals and microorganisms. So the also the biomass of the ultimately the biomass will be increases. So next is the process of succession. So in process of successions there are different stages that I have already discussed about you. In that, first is the notations, invasion, then establishment, competition, reactions, stabilization and climax. So these are the stages that are observed in the successions. So with this background we are moving towards the types of plant succession. So in succession can be classified on the basis of nature of the habitat in the following ways. जो तो नेचर ऑफ हैबिटेट के ऊपर जो टाइप्स ऑफ सक्सेशंस आर डिपेंड्स. सो हैबिटेट दैट मीन्स वेयर द कम्युनिटीज जहाँ पे कम्युनिटी प्रेजेंट रहते हैं, दैट एरिया इज नोन एज द हैबिटेट. सो on the basis of habitat, this plant succession is differentiated. On that, the first types of this succession is the primary succession. So in the primary succession, it begins on a barren land or barren primary sites such as rocks, cliffs and sand dunes, which are devoid of any living matters. The pioneers or primary colonizers are the first plant to establish on such a unfavorable sites. So primary succession, in that the life will be start on the barren land or barren primary sites, where these primary or primary sites are the some rocks, then cliffs and sands, dunes are the primary sites. On those primary sites, some living matter or living organisms are grow up, or they form the colonies of that organisms, or the living organisms that are known as the primary succession. So these primary succession also these are happening on the unfavorable sites like rocks, cliffs and sand dunes, where actually the barren land, on this land the some living organism forms the colonies, that is the primary succession. Then next is the secondary succession. Secondary succession, on that there is the succession proceeds on sites which have been once populated by organisms. The substrate is built up and enriched with nutrients, that is climax stage is reached in a short time on such sites as a few stages are involved. So after the primary succession, there is the they will be populated, and they are proceeds and populated by the organisms, and where the substrate will be built up and reached with the different nutrients. So on that stage, there is the climax stage is reached. The climax stage, that means the stable community. So on that area, the stable communities is developed in very short times, and some few few stages are also observed on that area. So that is called as the secondary succession. सेकेंडरी सक्सेशन में क्या होता है कि जो प्राइमरी जो ऑर्गेनिजम्स है, जो प्राइमरी कम्युनिटीज़ है, दिस प्राइमरी कम्युनिटीज़ विल बी populated, then the substrate of that area will be enriched with the nutrients, and at this stage the climax communities develop. That is the secondary succession. Then third is the autogenic succession. So in autogenic succession, the sequential stages of succession are caused by the forces which are generated from within the system as a result of its reaction, moderation of its environment. So due to the development of different communities, the sequential stages are observed in this autogenic succession, and due to the competitions and interactions between the different communities, the moderations or modifications in the environment we can observe in this autogenic succession. autogenic succession में क्या होता है कि यहाँ पे जो भी डिफरेंट कम्युनिटीज डेवलप हुए उनके बीच में जो सिक्वेंशियल चेंजेस होते हैं ड्यू टू द इंटरेक्शंस और due to the interaction of the different communities, and as a result there is the modifications of environment we can observe in the autogenic succession. Then fourth one is the allogenic succession. So succession is said to be allogenic when the external physical force such as volcanic eruptions, then flood, etc. causes or replace the existing community of the plants. So allogenic succession, that means there is the external forces are applied on that communities, and due to these external forces the present communities will be replaced, or so in allogenic succession, due to the external physical forces like volcanic eruptions, floods, high rainfall, on that these will be causes on the existing community and they will be replaced by another communities. Then fifth one is the fifth type of the succession is the autotrophic succession. So autotrophic organisms like green plants are dominant from pioneer to the climax stage of the succession. It initiates in inorganic environment with continuous energy flow. There is a progressive augmentation of the organic matter supported by the flow of energy. So autotrophic, that means the organisms which are produces their own foods, for example green plants. So these green plants on the succession will be dominant from the pioneer to the stable community, that is on the climax stage. पायोनियर से जो क्लाइमेक्स स्टेज तक जो ग्रीन प्लांट्स डोमिनेंट रहते हैं, दिस विल बी converted, or they can be prepared food and flowing the energy from different ways, and they can form the organic matters, supporting the organic matters with the flow of energy. That type of succession is known as the autotrophic successions. Then next is the heterotrophic succession. So succession begins on the site rich in organic matter with dominant heterotrophs such as bacteria, fungi, etc. The energy content declines with the succession. So heterotrophic succession, heterotrophics, that means they will be depends on the other organisms, or they can be depend on the organic matters. So for example, जो bacteria है, fungi है, they are not prepare their own food, but they are depend on the other organic material which are present on this area. So in the heterotrophic succession, there will be declining the energy content with the succession. वहाँ पे जो भी succession हो रहा है उसमें जो एनर्जी है, and the energy will be decline, and on this succession the organic matters, they reach with the organic matters, and on these organic matters the dominant heterotrophs are present. Then next is about the shear. The shear is nothing but the entire gradient of the plant communities from pioneer stage to the climax stage. The succession is classified into two principal kinds on the basis of moisture relation, for example hydrosears and xerosears. So first of all, you know about the shear. So shear is the entire gradients of plant communities from pioneer stage to climax stage. So जब भी कोई जो प्लांट कम्युनिटीज़ डेवलप होती है, तो this plant communities where from where it is started, and what is the stable communities, where the stable community, the entire gradient of this or entire process or entire development of this community is known as the shear. So this shear is depends on the moisture relation. मॉइस्चर रिलेशन के हिसाब से उसके टू टाइप्स बनाए हैं. फर्स्ट वन इज़ द हाइड्रोसियर एंड जीरोसियस. तो looking towards first the hydrosears. These hydrosears, or there is the hydrach. उसे हम हाइड्रोसियर्स भी बोलते हैं और हाइड्राच भी बोलते हैं. सो हाइड्रोसियर्स, that means the process of succession begins in a habitat with suboptimum supply of water. So hydrosears means the process of succession begins in the habitat with suboptimal of water. For example, ponds, lake and marshy places, etc. तो जो हाइड्रोसियर्स है, हाइड्रोसियर्स में क्या होता है, जो कम्युनिटी डेवलपमेंट है और जो सक्सेशंस विल बी स्टार्ट फ्रॉम द वाटर हैबिटेट, जहाँ पे वाटर सप्लाई मैक्सिमम वाटर सप्लाई है, वहाँ से सक्सेशन प्रोसेस स्टार्ट होती है। मतलब यदि हम पॉन्ड्स लेते हैं तो पॉन्ड्स में कैसे कम्युनिटी डेवलप होती जाती है। तो जो कम्युनिटी पॉन्ड्स और लेक्स और सब मार्शी प्लेसेस में डेवलप होती है उसे हम हाइड्रोस्फीयर्स बोलते हैं। देन hallospheres. Similarly, hallospheres, that means the succession on the saline soils or in saline water. जो succession the succession will be start from the saline water or saline soil. Then this type of succession is called as the hallospheres. Then next type of this shear is the zero shear. Zero shear, that means the succession on the xeric condition or dry habitat where the water supply is suboptimum. So this zero shears is again divided into two types, that is the Samosears. The Samosears means the succession on the sands, and lithosears, that is the succession on the rocks. So geosears, that means the succession will be start on the xeric or the dry habitats. So this habitat will be start from the, if the succession will be start from the sand habitat, then it is known as the Samosears. And if the succession will be start from the rocky substrate, then that called as the lithospheres. So according to the moisture relations of the moisture relation with the succession, and these two types are formed. So this is all regarding the types of succession. So in this question, first you have to write about the definition of succession, then process of succession, and third point is the types of successions. So types of successions, there are different 6 types of successions. So first is the primary succession. The primary succession is happening on the barren land such as rocks, cliffs and sand dunes on the unfavorable conditions. So their pioneer to or the primary colonies are observed. Then in the secondary succession, the secondary succession will be proceeds with the primary colonies. On that stage, there is the populations of the organisms will be increased, and the substrate will be enriched with the different nutrients, and at that stage the climax stage is developed. Then in the autogenic succession, that means the sequential stages are observed in different communities, and also there is the interactions between the communities are happening, and some modifications or moderations of its environment will observe. Then in the allogenic succession, that means on the succession there is the external physical forces like volcanic eruptions, floods, etc. are observed, and their community will be replaced by the another communities. Then fifth is autotrophic succession. Autotrophic, that means the organisms like green plants are dominant from pioneer to the climax stage, and with this inorganic environment, with there is the continuous energy flow is observed. Then next is the heterotrophic succession. In heterotrophic succession, there is the On the organic matter dependent dominant heterotrophs such as bacteria, fungi are observed, and on this succession there is the decline of the energy content will observed. Then regarding the shear is nothing but the entire gradient of the plant communities from pioneer stage to the climax stage. So depending on the moisture content or moisture relations of these moisture relations to the succession, these are two different types, that is hydrosears and xerosears. So hydrosears, or which is also called as the hydras, that is depend on the supply of the water, and these communities in hydrosears the community will be begins in optimum water, for example in ponds, lakes and marshy places. The succession will be start in saline water or saline cell, which is called as the halosears. Then second type is the xerosear. So xerosear is the succession on the xeric conditions or dry conditions. So in that the succession will be start on sand, then it is called as the samosears, and the process of succession will be initiates on the rocks, then it is called as the lithosears. So I hope all of you are got about these types of successions. So remaining part we will discuss in next video. Now I stop here.